Hi everybody, welcome. Thank you for making the journey here to Vancouver and to this wonderful hotel that we're going to have an opportunity to spend some time together and pursue a wonderful subject, guts and God, and I'm very excited about that. I particularly want to express my thanks to so many familiar friends, and I feel like half of you are family, and so it's fun to teach that, and the atmosphere is going to become, I'm sure, a very gracious and loving one, because that's what happens when we come into a place and we fill it. We're the only ones in this hotel. Yeah. So when you hear people rattling next door, if they're too loud, feel free to bang on the walls. Because there really is a good, there's a chance you will know everybody, and you can wear your robes in the hall, because you're only going to run into someone you know. Seriously, I would like to begin the workshop with a blessing, because I really do like to enter into something sacred and holy with grace. So I just would like to say, hover over us, God, because we are entering into the examination of our relationship with you. And that is the biggest journey for any human being, is to look into the soul of oneself and invite the presence of God. And that is holy listening, to listen to the holy. So bless you, bless us, and let grace hover over us as we work together. Amen. So, I wanted to I'm not going to say too much tonight, except to just warm us up, because you've traveled, it's late, and some of you are on who knows what time zone, so I won't cause you to kind of get to the point where you have to hold on to each other to stay in your seat. But I do want to say a couple of things about what we're going to be, where we're going. I want to launch some thoughts into you. And that's that, this workshop, the idea has come out of many years now for me of being in the being involved in spirituality. I don't think I have never not been involved in spirituality. But the route of looking at it through healing, through what are miracles, through the struggle people have in looking for God, looking for spirituality, looking for meaning and purpose. And then, one day it occurred to me, and sometimes when things occur to you in one of those epiphanies, it's sometimes they're so big that it takes your breath away, and it was one of those. And it occurred to me that there was a time not so long ago where there would never be a workshop like this, ever. That my experience today with people is that it's much more the case that people that I meet are more certain about what they do not believe than what they do believe. That it is much more the case that you have a deep faith in what you, and you know for certain exactly why you've been disappointed, and absolutely what you have no faith in, than what you have any faith in at all. And that today, that seems to be the nature of spirituality. What you are certain you do not believe in forms more of one's spiritual life than what someone does believe in. It's become inverted. It's become upside down. That to be able to say, this is my devotion, this is what I believe, is a very rare thing in somebody. To have any sense of conviction or devotion or sincere faith, that somehow or other, the word faith has become tied to religion. And religion's become a rather repellent thing to many people. It's something that makes someone go like this, as if faith and religion have anything to do with each other in this regard. Faith is what you know to be so without proof. That's what faith is. It's what your inner experiences validate for you. That which you do not need another person to validate. I'm going to spend a lot of time with you on this because now this is Carolyn the healer coming through on this end. I've spent a long time looking at why people heal and why they don't. I even wrote a book on it. Today I would write a much more updated version because I have continued to examine that. And as the mysticism part of my life engaged, which it had yet to do when I wrote the first edition, I did not yet realize the role that faith, or what we believe, or the capacity to believe anything, played a role in our capacity to experience a miracle. Now I'm going to say this again because it's really important that you grapple with this, that what it is you are capable of having faith in sets a kind of a climate inside of you, and how much you are able to sustain that has a lot to do with whether or not you can sustain the experience of a miracle. That has more to do with whether or not you heal rapidly or not. It's whether or not you have enough faith to sustain something phenomenal that has happened to you. Because if you do not have the stamina of soul, when someone says, don't be ridiculous, that couldn't have happened. And if you do not have the stamina to say, it did happen, and regardless of what you say, it did happen, I know what I experienced. The majority of people do not have the faith to sustain the tsunami coming at them that says, sorry, but in my world, that doesn't happen. Well, perhaps it doesn't in your world, but it did in my world. And your doubt is not coming into my world. Keep your doubt and your bitterness out of my world, because it's not coming in here. Now, when we talk, and we're going to go deep into this, because this has more to do with what the experiences that happen to you and how you understand God, what you are able to sustain in yourself. You determine so much more than you realize by what you are able to coordinate in your life with the people with whom you live. What you would imagine yourself experiencing, and whether or not in your own conscious or unconscious way, could you then take that experience and blend it into the world you live in, or do you consider that to be too risky? And you might think, oh no, I really want, I'm telling you that if push came to shove, most of you in this room would walk away from it, would walk away from something miraculous, as opposed to actually allowing it to come into your life. And that's the truth. That's the truth. I've been around this far too long now to know I speak from expertise, because the consequences of it are what most people can't sustain. Okay, it's because you don't know how to explain. You don't know, you can't take the chance, okay? So this is where, when I talk to you about where do we begin with God and guts, this is the guts part. This is the guts. When people keep up extraordinary barriers to their inner world that are all self-produced because they're terrified of the kind of clarity you actually can access, the type of purity inside that you can access because of how your world will change. Of how your world will change. And how rapidly it would change. And how quickly it would change. You know, in previous times, not so long ago, just prior to the 60s, we wouldn't have a workshop like this because nobody questioned faith. Nobody had questions like we have today. They wouldn't even exist. Nobody did. Nobody questioned, you know, whether there's a God or whether it was this or for what purpose was I born. Nobody ever spoke like that. Nobody even thought about things like that because those questions were so huge. And do you know, there was a time when, in the monastic years, where if you thought about asking, for what reason was I given life? Do you know the size of that question? For what reason, God, did you give me life? Now, I'm sure many of you have asked some version of that question, yes or no? And what did you expect the answer would be? Serious, I'm serious. Okay. So your job, you thought it was a job. So God, you were born for a job. Really? Okay, so you thought God was an employer and you were born for a job. What else? So if you're unemployed, you have no purpose. That's what it feels like to you, but, okay, anyone else?
Level of kindness.
I'm sorry, how does that answer the question?
It's like, how am I going to share kindness and where does judgment come in my lifetime?
Okay. Well, in a monastic, you know, like in the days of the Carmelite days, in the early days, or the Trappists, it would be much more the case that you would have to prepare to even ask that question. That you would go to your spiritual director and you would be told, you would go into a preparation to even ask that question. Because the understanding is that question is going to change your life. Because what you are actually doing is you're saying, take away everything that is a distraction from me, understanding why my soul is on this earth. Not my personality, not my fears, but my soul. Not my need for attention, not my need for anything. My soul. What did you send my soul to do on this earth? Maybe you sent me here only to stand at the corner and hold the umbrella up for people. But whatever it is, that's all I want to do now. And our ego doesn't have the wherewithal to say that kind of prayer. Because the ego is always saying, look, I'm lonely, so it better be for me. Whatever you gave me, whatever purpose in life, it better be for me, because I'm not happy. And it better make me happy, and it better take care of all my needs, and da-da-da-da. But in the monastic sense, it's whatever, all these things that make you unhappy are what's taken away from you. All the distractions. And what's left is what usually emerged for people, and it still is the case, is that things that you would never have seen, choices you would never make, become the way of your life. It's that your life begins to unfold around things that you would never have allowed in, because for reasons of ego, for reasons of other distractions, those choices would not have been part of your life. So the way that part of you, that deeper part that says, for what reason did you put me here? That is not something you can intellectually know. It is something that becomes revealed when all the reasons you thought fall apart, and it becomes revealed. Is that making sense to you? Yes, no?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm looking for a yes or a no. No, I'm looking at this one woman in the front seat, and I don't know your name. Otherwise,
Jen.
Jen. Well, put it this way. Have you ever ended up doing something that you didn't realize it worked out for the best, but you couldn't see how in the beginning it would? There. That's an incident. You think, I would never have chosen to do this, but the fact is it worked out for the best. Something that works out for the best that you never would have chosen to do is a small example of what I'm talking about. Just like that. And you didn't see how it could have. And you never would have chosen it. But in the end, it was exactly the right thing. And sometimes it kills you to admit it. That's the handiwork of the soul. Right there. Right there. Okay? It's the kind of thing that, when we ask that question, we pray very close to the bone. What am I doing here? What do you really want of me? And that kind of prayer, I often watch who's capable of saying it. Who's really capable of praying that deep and close to the bone without conditions? Because the truth is, prayer is that powerful. Prayer is that powerful. Like what's in the invisible world? What's in the unseen world? And how do you know anything's there? And because you could think like, am I talking to the air? I mean, what's out there? And are there really? Is there anything really out there? And I thought maybe it would be fun just to talk about inspiring true things tonight, so that it kind of leaves you in a great place. How does one prove that there's things like angels? Or that every prayer is answered? Or that the pursuit of God is worth your effort? Particularly now. That the disruptions in you are all for reasons. That if your life is, for example, finding a different direction, or things are not working as you think they should, that there is the handiwork of something other than you at work in your life. That it's sometimes very difficult to understand that the way heaven works is that when the goal of heaven is not to make you happy. And it's going to be very disappointing to understand this, but happiness is not the number one thing on the list. What the number one thing on the list is actually to make you aware of you. It's to make you aware of how powerful everything you do is and the consequences of every one of your choices. To everybody, to yourself, and to the whole of creation. This is the actual goal of the non-physical world. It's not about you finding happiness, you finding love, you finding this. To say that heaven could care less about that is a masterpiece of understatement. Not kidding you. Not kidding. It is so not their goal. That's your goal, but it's not theirs. The goal of the non-physical world is to make you conscious of the powers of cause and effect, action and reaction, choice and consequence, of how powerful every single thing you do is. How powerful every single thing you say is. The power of every word, and we're going to spend some time on that. The power of every thought. The power of everything, how you look at someone, how one thought in your head, one thought about one person actually is felt by that person. And that tiny little droplet of negativity has enough force to, in that person's magnetic field, to bring them down for the day, just enough, or bring them up for the day, just enough, to even determine if that person's going to do something like make a bomb in the basement, commit suicide, or decide not to. And I'm not kidding you. Because if you look at yourself on your worst day, in your saddest moment, the thing that stopped you from becoming just that much more sadder, that much more desperate, was actually one small, and that was it. And maybe that was one small kind thought when someone was looking at you and you didn't see it and it got into you, and that's called grace. And you didn't see it. You didn't see someone looking at you. Maybe somebody was looking at you and saying, oh, that poor person, and that compassion flew into you. And you didn't see it. You didn't see it. That someone was looking at you with compassionate eyes that day and saw how heartbroken you were. And maybe for that small moment, said a prayer for you or had a kind thought for you. And you didn't see it. And in that moment, that was the moment that you sat there and thought, I can get through this. But you don't know where that came from. That's where it came from. That's how powerful you are. That's the goal. That's the goal of your God. That's the goal of your guides. That's the goal of the angels. That's the goal of the seraphim, the cherubs, every one of them, the whole teamwork. It is not about finding happiness in jobs and all that nonsense. That's survival. We'll get to that tomorrow. I'll lay out the whole map. But this is the name of the game. And your biology is designed to cooperate with exactly what I'm talking about, which is you make choices that negotiate the balance of your energy, and you will pay for it with an illness. You'll pay for it because your system will let you know that you are hemorrhaging. If I make a choice and I become jealous of your medallion, I've got to have that medallion. And then I make up a narrative that says she always gets the prettier medallions. She always does. I've seen it for years. And I want that medallion. And I start telling myself that everything goes well for her and her, I'm sorry, what's your name? Brenda. For Brenda's life. Because she has that medallion. And this is what we do. We make up stories. That's how our life works. We make up our own narratives. If I have that medallion, then everything will be white with me. And we start telling ourselves this. And now I'm creating a whole big fake universe around a fake story and a fake medallion. But don't think Brenda's not feeling this. Because she is. Because part of me wants her to feel it. But what's happening to me is I am now hemorrhaging. You can't see it, but I can feel it. There's a part of me that's just, and it's coming right out of me. And this is how we put ourselves into suffering positions. And we start hemorrhaging. And what we do is we start falling out of balance. And what's the law of nature? The law of nature is a law of balance. Stay in balance. Balance is the nature of nature. And it's the nature of your nature. So, to take it back, even if you're going through a very difficult time, and you think this will never end, the fact is, ending is built into the pain. It's built in because that's the nature of nature. And this is God in the system. This is of what Teresa of Avila, my beloved Teresa of Avila, would say: God in the details. I love the way she is. God in the details. How is it built into nature? You're not rewarded for your suffering. It's that it has to stop because that's the nature of nature. You suffer this much, and then the balance has to come in and bring you back to the other. Do you understand? The phoenix has to rise from the ashes because that's the way life has been designed. Whether you're an atheist, an agnostic, or a believer, it doesn't matter. You will rise from your ashes because that is how nature's designed, to take you out of your suffering, to end all those cycles. And then we go through another one because that's how it's designed. There'll never be a time when we are not cycling through these cycles. We are not cycling because we're punished. We're cycling because it's renewal. Renewal. And they will end because they are meant to end. Not because we light 10,000 million candles and fast and crawl on our knees. They end because they are going to end. And our job is to learn again and again, what do I learn this cycle? What do I do better? How do I stay in balance better, better, and better? Because this is the nature of life, and the nature of life is the nature of God. This is how the structure works. And if you want to have any faith in anything, you have faith in the structure of it and in the guarantee. And the intimacy is prayer. Because it is all run by laws. Laws have no religion. Thank you, God, for that. They have no religion. And yet, what is a miracle? A miracle is when the laws are bent for you. And they are bent for you. And the cord, that singular intimate cord, is prayer. So for some unknown reason that I can never explain and I'm not supposed to, with this vast, incredible hugeness that is life, this impersonal universe that is set up where the tides go as they go and gravity goes, all of us will fall off this building if we jump. It is just the way it is. Still, you are known by name. Every breath you take registers, every thought you have. It matters, every kind act. It blows my mind, but it's a fact. It's just a fact, and you have to trust me on this one. And there's no reason why you should, but test it out. Try and be mean to someone and see if there isn't. Every part of your biology, every part of you says, what are you doing this for? There's what's hovering over you that says, stop it. Why are you doing this? What's warning you? What part of you stands up and says, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Who's the guardian there? If it didn't matter, why does everything in us want to put a bit in our mouth and say, stop it? And why, when we see somebody who needs help, does everything in us say, go, do something now? If it didn't matter, if we weren't being watched, how come when you do something, when you're told to do something, when you hear it, go now, move, and you don't, does heaven never let you forget that you didn't listen? You are never let off the hook. That's called regret. What's a regret? You are never let off the hook for not listening to God. That is the one thing. You are never let off the hook. And if there wasn't, if it didn't matter, you could just walk away and say, oh well, no big deal, but it is a big deal. Because if I said to you, you know what, write down 5 regrets, you'd have them at the top of your head. If I said, write down all the good things you've done, you won't even remember them since yesterday. Because you don't keep track of them. That's heaven's job. Regrets, you know them. Because they won't let you go. That's how come I know the system is the way it is. And I absolutely believe angels show up all the time. I'll bet you every one of you has seen an angel and you have it disguised as somebody and you don't know it. That French adage, you be careful how you you treat a stranger, because that's how you meet an angel. They always come as strangers. So you be careful, because you may be encountering a stranger. And that is so true that whenever I'm with a stranger, I'm always like this. I'm like, oh, I don't know who you are. Sit down, anything you want. I get particularly formal around, could be anyone. Not kidding. I sound like a superstitious kid. I'm not. In fact, I'm the furthest thing from it. It's just I have come to see too much now. I'm past that. I've just gotten really hardcore practical and have seen far too much. And I just know that it's, at the same time, we have a world that's gone crazy. We have a world that's gone crazy. And so what I know is that we are living in a change. We are living in this incredible time where one way of life is evaporating, and we are the pioneers structuring the beginning of what will be a new way of life, where we are the very crude versions of people who will one day fully accept that they are multisensory, that they are intuitive by nature, that they perceive each other's energy field as clearly as they perceive each other's bodies. We are very crudely beginning to, we're like the people who just discovered the wheel, for God's sake, when it comes to that world. But in a sense, our inner frontier is the new frontier. Like outer space and inner space are the two new frontiers. And our inner space, I think, on a micro, is as vast as the outer space. That's how vast we are. Who knows how many dimensions we are participating in? I have no idea. But I know that we have shifted into the beginning of a new version of human being. That's a big mouthful. We are not 5 senses. That is not true anymore. We have much more capacity in us. We can heal much more than common medicine is capable of, not because they don't want to, but because they are bound by fears and time and space and selfishness and all kinds of things. Those are perceptions and rules that our species abides by. But if we didn't abide by that, and that wasn't our values, we could regrow spinal tissue. We could do all kinds of things if that were not our value system. If we had our solar technologies, SOULAR and SOLAR, and we put our soul, SOLAR panels on our heads, and really, really allowed ourselves to access the power of our soul, not as a religious thing, but if you understood your soul as your conscious companion. And you shed the idea that the soul was somehow or other a participant in a religion. And you finally got it as the titanium battery of your physical body. That it is your cosmic alter ego. That it's your cosmic powerhouse that understands the nature, the cosmic nature of your nature. So that's how I want to approach what we're going to be doing together for the next few days. And I hope that sounds appealing to you.